Hey, Bungalow Bill, what did you kill? Bungalow Bill. Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis. Time for another edition of No Capes, where I talk about comic books that don't have to do with superheroes. This is for books for the week of October 15th, 2014. Jump right into some cool books, starting out with The Life After, issue number 4. Brilliant Oni Press book. Every issue of this I just like more and more than the last issue. Some really funny stuff happens in it. Relatively serious implications. Love this cover here. Dog licking himself. You know, our heroes of Jude and Ernest Hemingway have escaped I don't know, the Netherlands of some in-between limbo they were in. They stumble upon yet another limbo. They're trying to figure out what's going on there, why the people are there. We get some great corporate office scenes where, if you've ever had a corporate job, some of the conversations that happen in this corporate world, I think we can all relate to. You bust your ass, you know, and you know, gee, are we going to get a raise? No, your reward is the work that you do. And we all laugh our ass off because, of course, we all want the raise instead of just working for the corporate, working for the man. Some more really interesting stuff in here. More implications as to, you know, is this God a godlike being? Are they in hell? Are they in heaven? We get some interesting, some incredible visuals. Some interesting implications as Jude has this power to be able to see why people are where they are, what their sins are, and that sort of stuff, and give them, even potentially give them glimpses of stuff. And he gets snagged up by the Seraphim, which of course are the, you know, the army angels of heaven, and he gets a weird vision off of them of the Seraphim destroying what looks like cherubs. Much cuter looking angels, basically. So, not sure exactly what that's all about. You know, clearly our corporate foreman has gone above and beyond his own boss to hire some extra help. And the extra help is in the form of somebody from the underworld, it seems, that's going to cause some issues and stuff. At any rate, our main characters get captured. They're in this now prison type place that's really interesting. There's this great scene with Ernest Hemingway and this dog, because his dog keeps following him everywhere. It shows up. So Ernest thinks that, well, the dog obviously knows his way back to their, the original purgatory that they're stuck in. And it's like, let's just follow the dog. The dog goes to take off, and the dog then suddenly stops and starts licking himself. It's like, damn dog. I thought it was funny. Just a great book. Lots of interesting implications about religion in it, potentially. If you're easily offended by subjects of Christianity or whatever, maybe not the book for you. But it isn't that it's poking fun at any of it. It doesn't. So, I mean, if you can look at, you know, what might the structure of heaven be and hell and all of that, and the people that kind of make it all function the way it needs to. If you're accepting of the fact that you know, that it could be actually a created something, then this wouldn't be an offensive book, I wouldn't think. But like I said, clearly if you have issues with the implication that maybe, you know, heaven's run like a corporation or that sort of thing, then not the book for you. But otherwise, I thought it was fun. I think it's a great read. Has lots of stuff going on. The art is not super fabulous, but interesting. It definitely tells a story that needs to be told, and clearly that's what we want out of a comic book at the end of the day, right? So, good, strong stuff. Another good, strong book that I'm really enjoying, Deadly Class. This is issue number 8, 1988. I remember 1988. Yeah. This is a great issue. First and foremost, the coloring in it by Lee Louridge is absolutely brilliant. So, you know, we get this rooftop scene with our main character here, Marcus, and you know, he's met by one of the assassins that's helping him figure out where, excuse my French here, the character that they refer to as Fuckface, old classmate of Marcus's that's, you know, kind of been haunting him this whole time, located him, and they need to go and deal with him. But she wants to know what the history is between Marcus and this dude. Marcus basically hands over his journal and says, just read this entry, you know, because I can't talk about it out loud. You just need to read it. She's like, you sure want me to read it? Yeah, I trust you. Read the thing. And so then we get this reading of what happened. And so it's a playback of that. And it's this wonderful coloring, great panel work, and the coloring, right? So it's yellow here. As it rolls along, it goes from yellows into oranges, and, you know, moves into some darker reds, then turns into this sickly green as the vile stuff starts to happen, and get all this wonderful stuff, and then it just gets violent towards the end of it. You find out that that Marcus has basically been the equivalent of a child slave, making some sort of clothing or something along those lines in this children's home that he has been living in. He decides he's had enough of it. He goes through a pretty horrific process, but seeks his revenge. And his revenge doesn't end up being the way he wants it to be. What he wants the outcome to be, it ends up being much worse than that, and he gets laid blame on for a ton of stuff. There were some people that he wanted gone, he wanted taken care of. He did that, but then he got blamed for a whole lot more, which has given him this reputation that isn't completely earned, but somehow he has it, and that's probably one of the reasons why he's been inducted into the school, is because of how notorious he is. And some great character work at, like I said, the beginning and at the end of this. After the girl has read the book, the girlfriend shows up. There's a little bit of discomfort there, and I mean, I'm sure all hell is going to break loose in the next issues because they're going to have to go and retrieve the other boyfriend's body, right? Because they don't want to have Fuckface and his cronies having the body. They need to take care of that, so they take care of all those issues and whatnot. Really cool, really brilliant. The art for me is one of the things that makes that book. The paneling, the pace of it is so driven by the artist, West. What is his name? Wes Craig. Is brilliant, and like I said, in this one, the coloring, the hues, the way they change as the pitch and tone of the book rolls along, even though, you know, predominantly it's a color. Every page is a predominant color. Every panel is predominantly color. You know, so not necessarily realistic in coloring, but colors the dream and colors the reading of what she's reading through the journal, and it just really works, and it's really smart and really cool. Next up, let's talk Trees, issue number 6. Warren Ellis, I feel like really kind of at his best again, and Jason Ward, amazing artist that is Jason Ward in this thing. His he does it all. He does the coloring, the whole works. The art is his. You know, like just these opening pages, how it's kind of this rolls from the title page into a picture. The shots that he chooses to use to tell the story. I don't know how much this is Warren Ellis telling him, I want this angle with the glass, you know, setting at the bar, or if this is the artist saying, this is the version of how I want to tell the story. It's brilliant anyway, and it's brilliant all the way through. The facial expressions, you know, it's all there. You feel the emotion, you understand what's going on. There's some interesting stuff in here where it tells some information about the group that's in China, and it almost gets a little too informational, maybe a little too friendly Wikipedia on sexuality and all the different types of sexualities there are. I mean, it addresses binary sexuality, you know, gay, heterosexual, the whole gamut of it. And I like the fact that they're talking about it. I like the fact that it's in here. I like the fact they address, you know, more of the trans, you know, talk about the trans woman characters in here, who I like. I think she's really cool. And I like the you know, basically the country boy, his view of them, his desire and interest in her, just because she seems so free, knowing who she wants to be and going for that and all that. I love all that. But there's a little brief talk about sexuality there. There's a little too on the nose and a little too textbooky delivered. Verging on, look, I'm going to kind of describe that there's all this gambit of sexuality out there. It's not, simply just heterosexual and gay. There's this, all this gray area in between, and that's all awesome or whatever. But it's almost briefly more like if I was going to be reading a book where I needed that explained to me, like if I was reading a early Birds and the Bees type book or whatnot. So just briefly though, does not really take off the story, but that'd be my one criticism of the issue. But I like the fact that they do talk about it. It maybe could have just been delivered a little less that way. But everything else about the book is absolutely brilliant. There's some brief moments, once again, of the sci-fi aspect, because you almost completely forget the pillars are there because you're too busy dealing with these people and issues and whatnot. But you'll have this page like here, and then China talking about the sexuality, our young country boy being embarrassed and whatnot. And then you'll get a single page that is just this, in Antarctica, with the black poppies growing all over one of the machines. And then that's it. Then it goes back to the thing in China. Just this brief, like a subliminal blip of other stuff that's going on. It ends with more of the Antarctica stuff, which is really interesting. But just the art, like I said, I think the art is brilliant. Interesting, this issue addresses quite a bit of sexuality because they're also in Italy with the young woman and whatnot. She's kind of back kind of talking to the boyfriend. I think kind of feeling out, where does she want to be in her life? Is she ready to move on, move past these boys, and more embrace the older man that's kind of wants to educate her? Or does she still have some level of familiarity and with the boys kind of a thing? And I think she's feeling some of that out. We also get there that how they're making money is they're squeezing the homosexuals of the upper class, so to not expose them as being homosexuals. Interesting. We have those two things down there. There's some great emotions and whatnot. We have something sinister going on. Drones running along there in China. Something's going to happen in China, clearly. And then it ends with the pillar in Mogadishu. But brilliant stuff. Absolutely one of my favorite comics that comes out. Just really, really like it. People have said, "Oh, it's slow." Don't care because it's getting to all of these pieces, and all of these pieces are going to mean a lot more. Whatever happens to the pillar is going to mean a lot more because we're going to be invested in all of these characters. You're going to have a sense of who they are, what they're about, what their priorities are, what their desires are, what their fears are, and so then if the sci-fi shit hits the fan, it's going to matter. It's going to matter. Whatever happens to these people, we're going to care. We're going to care what goes on because we're going to be invested in them. Whereas some books, you're not going to take the time to do that. Warren Ellis implied on Twitter that maybe a lot of people won't read in this book. I hope that's not the case. I hope more people check the book out. I hope he sticks with it. I hope Jason Howard is making enough money to stick with it. Maybe that first trade. This is issue 6, so I'm assuming a trade's going to be coming soonish. Maybe that'll get people excited and invested in it. Because, man, I want people to read the book because it's cool. It's just really cool, in my opinion. I dropped some of my books. Next up, BPRD Hell on Earth, issue number 124. Whereas the last issue I kind of squawked about it being kind of a Godzilla fights the monster, whatever. This issue is absolutely brilliant. It's a one-and-done issue, basically. You get kind of a day in the life of somebody living in one of these towns that's partially taken over by giant monsters and whatnot. Works at a coffee shop. Has to deal with this fungoid stuff outside of his house every day. He really would like somebody to take care of the damn stuff, but, who's going to do that? He goes through these checkpoints every day. What's the point? The guy at the checkpoint checks to make sure that he's a legal citizen. Well, what if he wasn't a legal citizen? Would that matter? Why are they? I mean, it's not like the monsters that are the real threats are going to either show ID or not show ID. He's kind of questioning all that. It's just the kind of craziness of the day-to-day life in one of these environments. And lo and behold, in one day, BPRD shows up, and the guy gives him coffee and is like, hey, you got this giant monster. When you're done with that, can you fix our day-to-day life problems? You know, can you fix the simple stuff? I got some crazy weird thing growing in my front door. Can you help take care of it? And they're like, well, you know, maybe we can take care of it. Some BPRD action goes on. You get to see Liz Sherman blow up some stuff. And then there's a twist at the end of it, and kind of ends the book in a kind of a, you know, I think a really cool way that this speaks of BPRD in a lot of ways. But I absolutely love this cover. This from the inside out, them at a coffee shop looking out as one of these giant monsters that have taken over large chunks of the earth is slowly dragging itself across the city. Great stuff. Back to being brilliant. Wild's End. Abnett writing a great book here. This issue really cements for me. It's really great. This quaint kind of, you know, British townfolk encountering the unknown. The art is simple but effective, along with the coloring of it. You know, when they're by the fires, it's hot. When they're out in the middle of nowhere, it's cool. We get introduced to yet a new character, a recluse, a female cat who is a writer. She's more stressed out by these visitors, the villagers, you know, our main characters that have shown up, than she is by the little alien octopus thing that was invading her front door and she was shooting with a shotgun. She was much more comfortable with that craziness than she ever was with these men walking into her house, and the anxiety around that and whatnot is pretty brilliant. And there's a surprise at the end of this that I wasn't expecting. So I'm curious to see where it goes from here. But it's just good fun. Enjoyable little read. So yeah, don't have tons to say about it, but it's been lots of fun. It's charming, and I like it for that. Veil. This is issue 5, the last of this series, which is fine by me. Experimental art is interesting. You know, this is what it looks like. You know, the cover is basically what the art on the inside looks like too. But I love Greg Rutka's writing. Up until this point, I'd say I've never read anything of his that I haven't enjoyed, and this has really kind of landed flat. I don't really see kind of what the point of most of it was. I mean, it told a story. Took a long time for this issue to come out. It felt really drug out, and ultimately by the end of it was like, yeah, so. Left the door open to write more if they wanted to, but I, you know, personally don't really care if they do. It wasn't horrible, but it didn't feel necessarily like a complete story. Like it was like the beginning of something. It took too long to tell the beginning of it, and it was the beginning, but it didn't feel like it had anywhere to go, kind of a thing. So yeah, not really successful, I have to say. And finally this time, right? Check my books. Yep. Finally this time, wonderful cover here. This is the Six Gun Days of the Dead issue number 3. Second spin-off from the Six Gun regular series. Once again, continuing to talk and kind of show us the history of some of the characters that are part of this, the Knights of Solomon and the Sword of Abraham. Really cool, really interesting to get this backstory. Some really fun stuff in here. Some crazy necromancy type things go on. And just, yeah, really enjoy it. This is way interesting. Kind of giving you a sense of who these two metaphysical association groups that are both vying for power and control over the supernatural and over the world, how they conflict with each other and where some of their main conflicts are leading into the regular Six Gun title. So pretty cool for that. And that is it for No Capes this time. Hope everybody is reading some great No Capes books out there. Once again, what are you guys reading that I'm not reading? Or did you read some of these? What did you think of them? Let me know. Let's talk some non-superhero books. Anyway, have a good one, everybody.